Hi, this is Valerie from Aaron Holtz Farms, and I'm doing a series on calving season. This video will deal with processing calves after they've been born. So, once a calf has been born, once he's all okay and we've made sure he's breathing and we've let his mother lick him off and everything, then there are a number of things that we have to do before we can just let them out into the last corral where they mingle with all the other cows. So the first thing I do, I take my box. This is an old tackle box. I used to use an old lunch kit. It was kind of small. Then my dad procured an old tackle box for me, which is awesome. So I'll take it, and first thing I do is write the calf's information in my pocket record books. The record books look different. This is the one I had last year. I really liked this one, but I cannot get any more. If any of my farmer friends are watching and you know how I can get one of these, let me know. But this one has basically the same stuff. It's just shorter, so there's less room to write, which is, let's see, it's got that much less room. That's the only problem I have with it, really. So I'll write down the number of the cow, because they all have ear tags, the birth date, the ear tag that I'll give the calf, the calving ease, so whether it was born unassisted, whether I had to, there's an easy pull or a hard pull or a C-section or whatever. The sex of the calf, the bull if it's male, heifer if it's female, the sire or the father of the calf, just so that I know how my bulls are performing, and I can look back and say, oh, I can't breed this cow to this bull because that's its father, a few years down the road. There's remarks, so I might put the color of the calf or how big it was when it was born, which I only did for one calf, because we don't generally weigh our calves. That's about all I write. Or if it froze its ears, I'll write that down. Or if it died, I'll write why it died in there. And then there's a CCIA tag number, which I'll talk about the CCIA tag in a little while here. So I write down stuff in my book, and that way I'm able to keep track of the calf. The next thing I do, if it's a bull, I need to castrate it, and then it becomes what we call a steer. The reason we castrate our bulls is that we don't sell bulls. We're not a purebred producer, so we don't need them to be bulls. We don't want a young bull growing up to breed the heifers, because we don't know what kind of performance he would have. He would have an extremely large calf, and the heifer would probably be too young at that point to be bred anyways, and then she'd be really small when the calf is born, and it'd be bad. And also, bulls can be quite aggressive, so if we make them steers, then it's just safer for us to work with them when they get older. We keep them until they're about a year old, which is, a lot of cow-calf producers will sell them as soon as they're weaned, but we background them, so we feed them and kind of get them trained to be in a feedlot before we sell them to the feedlots. That's a thing we do. It adds value to our cattle. So, in order to castrate a bull calf, we use one of these. It looks like a Cheerio. It's green. It's squishy. It's elastic. It is called an elastrator ring. We don't call it that. We call it a rubber ring, because that's what it is. It's a ring of rubber. That's how we roll. And then we put it on with this. It's called an elastrator. So we put the rubber ring on here, not too far on, because that makes it difficult. And then that allows us to open it up. So we'll put this over and around the scrotum of the bull calf. Make sure both testicles are in there. If they aren't, then we have to wait a few days for them to drop down, because we don't want to just cut off one. So put it on over like this, and then kind of pull the elastic band off, take away the elasticator, and it's just like this. If I left this on my finger long enough, the blood supply to my finger would be lost and the tip of my finger would fall off. That's exactly what happened with the calves. And the scrotum and testicles just dry up and fall off. And we do this within a few days of the calves being born, which makes it easy on us because they're not super frisky. We can just kind of tackle them to the ground. Well, most people will kind of pick them up and drop them to the ground, but I'm slightly too small to do that. It doesn't always work. So I just kind of wrestle them to the ground. We both fall down, and then I'm able to hold them down while I do the work. Yeah, and it's less stress for the calves, especially if I don't have to wrestle them. Just to have it done when they're young, it's less painful, less stressful than having to do it when they're older. And when they're older, if we have to castrate them, then they need painkillers and all sorts of stuff happening. So the next thing I do is I give the calves needles. I give them 2 needles if they're born in the wintertime. If they're born in the summertime, it doesn't really matter so much. Oh, here they are. Put my needles in a safe place and then lost them. So these are them. These are 3 milliliter syringes. We only give them 1 milliliter of the 2 different things that we give them. So this much. Here. And then there's the needle. So the first thing I give them is vitamin A and D, which there's currently a shortage of this in the world for both veterinary and human medical use because a plant in Germany shut down for a few months or something, so I had to frantically go to the vet and say, do you have any vitamin A and D? And they were able to get some, and I was able to get a bottle of it. So that was a bit crazy. That doesn't happen every year. The reason we give them vitamin A and D is because they don't get much of it in the winter. And these are necessary vitamins. I have this awesome beef cow-calf manual from the government of Alberta. And in here, I can read that vitamin A is the most important vitamin in cattle nutrition. It's the only one that normally must be added to cattle diets. So this is grown cows and calves. Grown cows, we don't give them needles. We just feed it to them with their minerals. Vitamin A is necessary for bone development, sight, and maintenance of healthy skin tissues. A deficiency can cause an increased susceptibility to disease, night blindness, and reproductive failure. So they need vitamin A, and normally they can get it from the plants that they eat in the summertime, but they also get it when we feed it to them in their minerals. And in the wintertime, there's not a lot of vitamin A that they can get. So we do, if we give them hay that has been cured by the sun, I think this is where I read this. Yes, if we give them hay that has been cured by the sun, the vitamin A in the hay breaks down. So by the time we feed it to the calves in the wintertime, they don't get the vitamin A that was originally in the plant. In with the vitamin A in that bottle is also vitamin D. Vitamin D, as we all know, from our own human experience is the sunshine vitamin. And I live in Canada. My cows calve in the winter because March is still winter. They say it's springtime, but I'm not so sure. So there's just not as much sunshine right now. If you give animals sun-cured hay, then the vitamin D, they'll probably get enough. But they got vitamin A deficiency because there's not. So you have to decide if you want to give them sun-cured hay or silage. Either way, you're going to be deficient in something. Vitamin D is involved in the uptake of calcium and phosphorus. And a vitamin D deficiency resembles a calcium and phosphorus deficiency. Symptoms include rickets in calves. Remember, that's why we added vitamin D to milk for children, human children to drink, because they were getting rickets. Calves get rickets too. So this is why we give them vitamin D. Other symptoms are weak bones that are easily broken in older animals and decreased growth rate in calves. Can also contribute to the occurrence of milk fever in cows, so on and so forth. Calves of vitamin D deficient cows may be born dead, weak, or deformed. So vitamin C is important. We need it. This is why I give it to my calves. I don't just needle them with whatever because I want to. They need this. And it's only a little bit, 1 milliliter, and they're good to go. The other thing I needle them with is selenium and vitamin E. This is also necessary for the calves. Selenium and vitamin E works together for muscle function. Vitamin E functions as part of a multi-component antioxidant defense system. And I have to look up selenium, which is a micromineral. Not one of the big important ones, but selenium deficiency may result in white muscle disease in calves. Vitamin E deficiency increases the amount of selenium required to prevent this form of nutritional muscular dystrophy. Cows on selenium deficient diets may have reduced reproductive performance, lower fertility, increased incidence of retained placentas, lameness, diarrhea, reduced immune response, and poor body condition. So we don't want them to be deficient in selenium. Why would they be deficient? Our soil in this area of Alberta is deficient in selenium. Cows get their selenium from the plants they eat, and the plants get it from the soil, and if the soil is deficient, then there's deficiency all the way through the system. So, when the calves don't have enough vitamin E and selenium, which work together, then they get something called white muscle disease, as I just read. And it's called white muscle disease because when the calf dies and you look at the inside of it, the muscles have these white streaks running through them. And it affects all muscles, including the heart, which is a muscle, and if the heart can't work properly, it stops, and that's what kills the calves. And it's sort of this slow, horrible way to die. So that is why we give them selenium and vitamin E, because we don't want that to happen to our calves. So we give them the needles. We needle them in the neck. This stuffy does not have a neck. It drives me crazy. But there's sort of this triangular area on cows where it's best to give them needles. So we do our best to give them the needles there. Both these are intramuscular shots, which is the easiest. You just stick it in, pull back the plunger a little bit to make sure that you're not in a vein, and then give them the needle. And, one needle in this side, one needle in this side. and they're done. Most calves are okay with getting a needle. They don't really mind it too much. They might struggle a little bit because, you know, they're a day old and you're poking them and giving them a needle, and we all know nobody likes to get a needle. I had one calf that I needled yesterday that I barely touched him with a needle, and he started bawling for his mother, and all the cows in the corral came gonna rescue him. It's a little bit scary. Who knew he would be such a wimp? Big, strong calf, too. So sad. So, the last thing I do for the cows is I ear tag them. So I take my special ear tag pen. I don't know why it's special. I think it's just that the ink doesn't, the ink does not fade as quickly in the sun or something. I don't know. I'm not sure why we don't just use permanent markers, but this is what we use. It's a pen. It smells very strongly. So we'll write on the ear tags. Every farmer has their own numbering system. Some they use letters for the year. So if a calf was born this year, their letter would be, I don't know, I don't use the letter system. This year the letter is F. So if cow number 2 had a calf, then the calf's ear tag would be F2. If the cow was born in 2011, her ear tag number would be Y2. We don't use that. We write the years in the corners. So this is the year the calf was born, 2018. The cow was born in 2015. The cow's mother was born in 2009. That just helps us see longevity and that sort of thing. This H that just tells me that it's my calf. This tag is, I have a few different color tags, and for some reason I wrote the tag out on the wrong color tag for this one calf. So, but my dad has some cows that we do on calf sharing, and he has some cows of his own, and this H, they have the same color ear tag, my dad's cows. The H just tells me that this is the calf share calf. If there's no H, it's not a calf share calf. And then 55 is the number that the calf is. So to ear tag them, all we're doing is piercing the calf's ear. So we've got the earring and the back of the earring. We take our ear tag applicator, stick the back of the ear tag on there, put the ear tag in here, and then we'd take our calf and put the ear in there so that it's kind of like that, and then squeeze. I'm not actually going to ear tag my stuffed animal because it's just too special for that. And that's how we ear tag. So we give it a sight tag. This is a sight tag because we can see it from a distance away and know what number it is. If we're driving out there and, oh, this calf is sick, I should treat it, and just make a note of the number, go get the medicine, and then we're able to come find the calf easily. Or if my dad sees a calf and says, hey, keep an eye on number 4, then I know I'll keep an eye on number 4. And then there's another tag, the CCIA tag, which is a radio frequency identification tag, or RFID for short. They have these wand readers. They just like wave over the cow's ear, and it picks up a radio signal, and it'll tell you the number. These are required. We have to put them on the calves or any animal if we're going to sell it or move it anywhere. That allows us to track every beef animal in Canada. So if there's an issue that comes up, say BSC, also called mad cow disease, they can read the RFID tag and know where it came from, where the cow came from, and they can trace it back through its entire life, and you know where it came from, and it's all good. So we ear tag it exactly the same way in the other ear. And then I can give the calf back to the mother, and he's all done. He's processed. He's ready to go out and join the herd. So that's how we process calves.